The date is 22nd November 2014. To anyone who woke up on this day would think it's just like any other. They would eat breakfast, go to work, come back to their family, sleep and repeat. That is in fact exactly what the Hudson family thought when they woke up on this day. The mum would pack the children's lunch, one daughter, one son, wave them off to school, go to work and cook dinner for them when they came home. Very little did she know the children would not return. Not like yesterday when the daughter came rushing in showing off a gold star, and not like the day before where she had to berate her son for misbehaving. No, they would never return. Well, at least that's what the mum thought, and she got an agonising call from the police the very next day.
I'm ever so sorry, Mum, but there is no easy way to say this. We found your kids in the morning buried in the ditch in their faces have been carved off.
That's all the mum needed to hear before everything went black and her body collided with the floor. The date is now the 22nd November 2019. It's been 5 years since the tragedy struck the Hudson family. 5 long years of mourning, drinking and crying to sleep. But that's all Mrs. Hudson has been doing since she received the horrific news. Today, however, was special, for today was the 5-year anniversary of her children's death, and what better way to spend it other than drinking the night away. Mrs. Hudson missed her children dearly. Every night she wished for their return, and every day when she came home from work, she would always stand there waiting to be hugged by her son and daughter. But every day was the same: loneliness. Unknowingly to Mrs. Hudson, she would get her wish, and after she would severely regret it. But wishes have a way of happening, just not in the way you would expect. Well, at least definitely not in the way Mrs. Hudson was expecting.
Mummy, we're coming to get you. We're coming to get you, Mummy.
Slightly terrified, Mrs. Hudson drops the phone with a shaky hand. Then she hears a faint knock. Slowly, Mrs. Hudson crept towards the window, hoping to peek at who's knocking at the door. Quietly, she drew the curtains back. There was nothing there. Letting out a breath, Mrs. Hudson stepped back from the window. Shakily, Mrs. Hudson picks up the phone and puts the police on speed dial. She reaches for the door, phone in hands, and opens it. Mrs. Hudson couldn't believe it. There standing in front of her was the children, only they looked different. Their eyes were pitch black like coal with no pupils. Their teeth, which was pulled into a grin, were razor sharp, like they'd been shaped by a knife. But their faces were seeping with blood around the edges, and it looked like they were sewn on. Horrified, Mrs. Hudson slammed the door shut and locked it. Quickly, Mrs. Hudson rang the police. Just as she turned around, she saw them again. They were grinning even wider now, with blood drooling down their clothes. Then they spoke.
Why did you save us, Mummy? Why?
Mrs. Hudson stood frozen, mouth agape with tears trailing down her cheeks. They circled her. The boy held a knife in one hand, and the girl held a sewing needle and thread in the other.
You didn't save us. We thought you loved us. You didn't save us, so why don't you join us?
Mrs. Hudson tried to run, but the boy grabbed her legs and pinned her down. Now straddling her, he puts a knife to the corner of her face. Behind him stood the girl, grinning manically. Then he started to carve. The last thing Mrs. Hudson saw was the never-ending abyss of darkness as she looked into their eyes. Then that was all she knew, as she was slowly drawn into the abyss forever.